Hi, everyone. Welcome to our new session. Again, this is a session for parents. My name is Claudia Aly. I am a parent outreach coordinator with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, or ISAC. Thank you for joining us to another session for parents. Today, in addition to more updates, we're still not done with updates. But I will be talking about corrections or updates that can be done to a student's FAFSA and why that is important. Um, but I will go over some housekeeping items first. So this session will be saved and available in our YouTube channel. Please share with parents you know. If it is viewed after the live recording, there may be additional updates not included in today's session. So please visit the studentaid.gov where the most updated information can be found. During this session, use the Q&A option to let us know your questions, and we will answer them as we go over the information or once I'm done. If you come up with additional questions later after this session, I encourage you and your student to use the ISAC College Q&A text messaging service. This is a free service where you can get answers to your questions or any concern you may have. With that, I want to remind you who we are and what our mission is. So, the Illinois Student Assistance Commission is the agency here in the state that administers programs to help pay for college. And our mission is to provide Illinois students with information and assistance to help make education beyond high school accessible and affordable. Before I move on with today's topic, for those parents whose students have not submitted their FAFSA, please have them to do so as soon as they can. If you're still in the process of creating your FSA ID, I know there is a lot of parents who are still struggling with that. If you're in the process of verifying your identity, please follow up with the Department of FSA. If you don't hear from them after the 2 weeks after the time you submitted the documentation. So basically, a parent without a social security number who needs to verify their identity after creating their FSA ID will receive an email with a case number that starts with MANVER, the letters MANVER. If the parent did not get an email with that information or was requested to contact FSA, they should do it either by chat or phone call. We have heard that chat has been the faster way to communicate with them. So the first step to verify your identity is basically to obtain a MANVER case number. Once that case number is provided, the parent should complete and sign an attestation form and email it with a copy of acceptable identification documents. I know I have covered this in previous sessions, but I think it's really important for parents to know what are the steps of either creating their FSA ID or verifying their information. So even though in the attestation form it says that the FSA will provide an email confirming that your identity has been verified within 1 to 3 business days, it might take more than that. I guess it depends on how much they have, right, or how behind they are. For some, it has been taking about 5 days to get verified, 7 days, and other families have been waiting for 2 weeks or even more. So if you don't hear from them, I think it's really important to follow up with them if you have submitted your documentations, more than 2 weeks. I have heard that some parents were provided with a case number starting with like something else rather than MANVER. Or is just like random numbers, right? And they have been waiting for a long time. So please, if you only receive an email with a random case number, and in the email it asks you to keep that number for your reference, contact them back and ask for a member number to verify your identity. Without that, your student will not be able to complete their FAFSA, because if there are dependent students, they will require your information. So when you send the documents to verify your identity, again, make sure that they're not expired. I still, heard a family last week who signed an expired passport. So it's really important to pay attention to those little details. There is a list of approved documents for your reference in the attestation form. We can provide that in the chat, or you can request that attestation form via text message. So what happens once your identity is verified? So once your identity is verified, you can access your student's FAFSA, you can complete it, you can complete your section, and you can submit the FAFSA. With that, I want to transition to to talk about the steps that follow once the FAFSA is submitted and processed. If your student's FAFSA has been processed, that means they can work on correcting or updating their application, including adding or deleting schools if they need to. Federal Student Aid announced that students who needed to update their FAFSA form, they were going to be able to do it during the first half of this month, and it is now available as long as your student's FAFSA has been processed. So the first thing your student needs to know is the status of their FAFSA form. So applicants may check their status of their 2024-25 FAFSA form by logging into their Student Aid account. So in there, the student will be able to see whether the FAFSA is in progress, is in review, is processed, or there is an action required. I think the most important points to check is if the application is processed, there might be no further action that is needed from you, right? Unless the student wants to add or delete a school, then you need to do that, or the student needs to do that. If the status of your application is action required, that means your application requires further action from either you, the parent, or the student, and you need to follow up to resolve the issue. If the status of your student's FAFSA is processed, your student will be able to view the FAFSA submission summary. Again, I know I covered this information during the last YouTube Live, but I think it's important to get familiar with financial aid or FAFSA terminology for a better understanding. So once your student logs in and goes to the account dashboard under the My Activities section, you will see the 2024-25 FAFSA form, and right under it, it will tell you the status of the application. So the student should click on the FAFSA form that is listed, and it will direct them to the FAFSA status tracker. If the FAFSA has been processed, it will let you know the FAFSA submission summary is ready, and encourage the student to review it in order to see what errors need to be addressed. If there is a signature missing, for instance, from one of the contributors, a note would also be there. So it will tell you provide signature, right? So it is important to pay attention to the 4 different tabs that I also mentioned last time, especially to the FAFSA form answers, because that's where you will be able to see the answers you and your student provided in the FAFSA form. So the different tabs you will be able to review in the FAFSA submission summary are the eligibility overview, FAFSA form answers, school information, and the next steps. So review your FAFSA answers and follow the next steps if you're required to do changes, and just to make sure that everything is up to date. You, the parent, as well as the student, can each log into your own account to make sure that there is nothing pending or missing. If you're wondering what kind of corrections or what kind of updates the student can make in the FAFSA form, a lot of students submitted their FAFSA without a signature, right? From the beginning, when the application became available in January, there was a lot of issues with the system or with the application, and some of the students sent their FAFSA without a signature. So if the FAFSA form is missing one or more required signatures, it is not complete. So adding a signature is actually a correction that needs to be done. Otherwise, the student will not be eligible for federal student aid. Also, FAFSA forms were sent without contributors' consent and approval. So this is particularly important because if consent and approval is not provided, the student would not be considered for federal student aid, even if the tax information was entered manually. So I know some families or some students had to enter that information manually, but even if that information was shared, if the consent and approval was not provided, then the student will not be considered for federal student aid. The student can also change the answer to direct unsubsidized loan only questions. So this question was a little confusing even for myself when I was helping my student to complete his FAFSA. And this was the issue with a lot of other students who answer this question incorrectly. So this question for dependent students have the option to indicate that their parents are unwilling to provide their information and therefore want to apply for only a direct unsubsidized loan. However, if a dependent student doesn't provide parental information, their eligibility for other types of federal student aid cannot be calculated. So if this was a mistake, the student needs to follow the instructions to change that answer. Once the answer is changed, the student can send you an invite for you to share your information into the FAFSA form. So I heard a lot of students who claim that the parent information was not required, and this is the reason, right? So the answer was the question was answered incorrectly, and that's why the parent information was not required at the time. But this is the time to change it. In general, a contributor, whether it's the student or the parent, can correct any information that might have been provided incorrectly. So this is the time to do so. Or a student can add or delete schools. So a student can add up to 20 colleges or universities in their FAFSA. So if your student is considering more schools, they can do, they can do this process now. Again, it is important that you and your student review the FAFSA submission summary and follow the instructions to make corrections if needed. One of the tabs that I found very helpful when I was under my account, or even when I was helping my student, there is an actions tab. So this is found in the FAFSA status tracker, which is on the top right-hand side with three little dots. From there, the student can see, or they should be able to add or remove schools, edit their contributor information, make corrections, and they can also view their FAFSA submission summary. If your dependent student makes a correction under your information, you, the parent, you will be required to sign the corrected FAFSA form using your own FSA ID, right? Your own username and password should be used to sign it. I know all of this might be confusing, especially when I have no visuals for you to kind of like follow along, but I will share a link that you can use as a reference when making corrections or updates to the 2024-25 FAFSA form. This link is through the studentaid.gov site, and like I mentioned, this is the place where you can visit, to find new updates. I know the option to make corrections is available. However, there are some issues that may or may not have solution at the moment, but FSA is working on getting them resolved. I have heard a couple of families who have been trying to make corrections and the system doesn't allow them. It gives them like error messages. But some of the issues that have been notified to us are when either the student or the parent is trying to make a correction for some reason, the assets are incorrectly removed And the solution to that is really just to re-enter the values that were removed, right? There are some other issues to which there is no workaround. For instance, some applicants encounter an error when starting a correction and cannot view the FAFSA, right? And this is the issue I had with a family last week where they were trying to make a correction and they were unable to see the FAFSA. They thought the FAFSA form was completely erased or deleted. Um, Also, some contributors cannot add assets or submit the correction. So simply as that, like it will not allow them to do so. Also, for those families who manually enter their tax information because they either the system asks to enter that information manually, or because they wanted to put the information, or because they didn't provide consent. If they want to make a correction now, they're unable to do it. Hopefully in the next week or so we hear some news regarding these issues when trying making those corrections. Just be aware that there are still, some issues that unfortunately there is no solution yet. But again, FSA is working to resolve these issues. Corrections or updates to the FAFSA form are important for students to receive accurate financial aid offers from the schools they listed in their FAFSA form. That's why it's important for the student and the parent, if it is required, to make a correction. Again, once the FAFSA is submitted and processed, the financial aid office at the college receives this information, and the financial aid administrator will put a financial aid package for the student. These financial aid offers help the student find out how much financial aid is offered from each school. But we will have the chance to talk about financial aid offers in the next YouTube session. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel for this new session. We're hoping to have it, during the month of May. So keep an eye on it. Wait on this session. This is important for you to know as well. If your student has not completed the financial aid application, please have them to do so as soon as they can. Or if you started the application and you got stuck, or you don't know where you are in the process, reach out for assistance. We are here to help you. As I mentioned, the ISAC court members are located in different areas in Illinois, and you can connect with them as well. We will share the link so you can find your local court member using your state code. And then in addition to the ISAC core members, I am also here to help you in this process. Or, you can also use your school resources. I have been getting text messages from parents who are stuck in either the FSA ID or trying to make a correction, or they don't know how to navigate the student aid account, where to find the FAFSA submission summary, or how to even read the FAFSA submission summary, specifically where it tells you your eligibility, right? So I'm here. You can contact me through text message. Or you can, find your local ISAC core member. For all of you who are here today, or those who will be watching the recording, I hope this information is useful for upcoming YouTube events. Visit our YouTube channel. And as I mentioned, we're planning to have another session before the end of the 2023-24 school year. For more information about ISAC, the programs and services we provide, visit isac.org. And if you need assistance later, you can contact us via the ISAC College Q&A service. Just to add, we have an English and Spanish line for families to, to send us any questions or concerns. I will move on to check and see if we have any questions. Okay, so there is a question in Spanish. I will, if you want, you can follow up with me via text message. I will put that number in the chat. That will be the Spanish Q&A. And I am the one answering that Spanish line. So we can follow up regarding your particular case. So I provided both numbers. So the English line is 847-243-6470, and then the Spanish line is 773-823-0570. Again, the person who asked in Spanish, you can follow up with me in using the Q&A. If you have any other general question, feel free to put it in the chat. We have a few minutes left. If you also please invite other parents, share this information with other parents, share that we have this information in our YouTube channel. I think this is super important for students to complete their application. Like I mentioned previously, completing the financial aid application, whether it's the FAFSA or the alternative application, is a requirement to get a high school diploma. Okay, for the question about the parent is unsure what tax to use. So for the 2023-24 FAFSA, you should use the 2021 tax return. For the FAFSA that most of the students are completing now, which is the 2024-25 FAFSA form, you should use the 2022 taxes. So regardless of the college the student is attending, it has to, the taxes that the student or the family should use when completing the FAFSA application, it depends for what FAFSA application are you trying to complete. If the student is trying to start college during the fall of this year, then the student should complete the 2024-25 FAFSA form using the 2022 taxes. Any other questions? I just want to add that ISAC College Q&A service is completely free, as well as all the services that we provide. And then these numbers are also available for students. So usually the English line, we have more students than parents. And then the Spanish line is more parents than students, but everyone is welcome to send us a text message through those numbers. So a FAFSA form is for each individual who's planning to attend college. So if the student is going to college, then the student needs to complete a FAFSA form. If the parent is also planning to attend college, then it is a completely separate FAFSA form. So basically, each student, regardless of their age, requires a FAFSA form. So I will be sharing a link where you can read about corrections or updates. Um, if it is not, if your student doesn't have to correct anything under FAFSA, share it with people you might know. Um, or might need that information. Lastly, I will share the link for you to find your ISAC court member. So like I mentioned, there are recent college graduates who are located in different areas in Illinois, and you can find the nearest in your area. Okay. I don't see any other question. Again, I encourage you to use the ISAC College Q&A if you come up with other questions later. Um, I will be providing another live session in the month of May. We will be promoting it in our social media, and hopefully you can make it to our last session. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good evening, and I hope everything is going well with your students' application. Thank you. Have a good night.